You ever feel like you're just drowning in headlines? You know, about AI, climate change, the future of, well, everything. It can really feel like we're all just passengers on this super high-speed train headed to a destination that none of us actually chose. But what if I told you there was a toolkit? Not just to understand the future, but to get in the driver's seat and actually help shape it.
Okay, so let's just dive right into this because it's a huge idea. The futurist Amy Webb basically says that a tiny handful of massive corporations are the main architects building our technological future. And that really frames the whole challenge, right? If we don't like the blueprint they're using, how do we draw up a new one?
So to really get why this moment feels so urgent, we have to understand why the pace of change feels so incredibly different this time around. This isn't just another tech boom. We are living in what the Future Today Institute calls an exponential supercycle.
And no, this isn't just about computers getting faster. The era of living intelligence is all about this self-reinforcing loop of innovation. It's like a flywheel. Every new breakthrough immediately starts fueling new discoveries in totally different areas, which makes the whole thing just speed up exponentially.
What really makes this era a game changer is this idea of convergence. See, in the past we had big waves like the internet or mobile phones, but now we've got three revolutionary technologies all hitting their stride at the exact same time. AI, advanced sensors, and bioengineering. They aren't just running on parallel tracks, they're smashing into each other, amplifying one another, and creating change that is just, well, it's profound and totally unpredictable.
So this brand new reality completely breaks our old ways of thinking about tomorrow. For decades, companies, governments, everybody, they've relied on one main method to plan for the future, and that method is called forecasting.
The easiest way to think about forecasting is like a weather report, right? It looks at all the current data to predict the single most probable outcome. The idea is to let us adapt to what seems like an inevitable trend. And hey, it's a decent tool, if the world is stable and change happens in a nice, straight line.
And that, right there, is the problem. In an age of exponential change, the future isn't some single point on the horizon. Trying to predict the most likely outcome is kind of like trying to predict the exact spot a single raindrop is going to land during a hurricane. Good luck with that.
This really hits the nail on the head. Here's the critical weakness. Forecasting just can't handle major disruptions. It can't account for complex feedback loops or, and this is the big one, our own future decisions. It basically assumes we're all just passive observers, adapting to whatever comes our way.
So, if predicting the future is off the table, what are we supposed to do? Well, we can map it. And this is where a whole field called future studies comes in. It gives us a new set of tools designed not for prediction, but for strategic exploration.
Okay, the core idea here is something called the futures cone. Picture it. It starts right now, in the present, and it just fans outward. The further you look into the future, the more uncertainty there is, and the more possibilities exist. It's a map that says, hey, we don't know exactly where we're going, but here's the lay of the land.
Now, what's so cool about this is how it organizes all that uncertainty. The probable future, that's our business as usual path. The plausible includes things that could totally happen based on science and trends we see today. And then you've got the possible. That's everything else. The wild cards, the sci-fi scenarios that aren't impossible, they're just not plausible yet.
Mapping out all the possibilities is one thing, but how do we actually navigate towards the future we want to live in? This brings us to what might be the most powerful tool in this entire new toolkit. It's called backcasting.
This is a complete 180 in thinking. Instead of starting from today and asking what's going to happen to us, backcasting starts with a clear vision of a future we prefer and asks, okay, what do we have to do starting right now to make that future a reality?
And this isn't just, wishful thinking. It's a totally structured process. You define that vision, you figure out the gap between now and then, you identify what's going to help and what's going to hurt, and then you build a real, step-by-step action plan to bridge that gap. It turns an abstract dream into something you can actually work on.
This slide just lays it all out, plain and simple. Forecasting is passive, it's adaptive, and honestly, it's fragile. It's about letting the future happen to you. Backcasting, on the other hand, is active, it's creative, and it's all about having a goal. It's about being a participant in making the future happen.
All right, let's bring this whole thing full circle. We started with this idea that a really small group of companies are basically the head architects of our future. So what do these new tools mean in that context? So here they are, the big nine that Amy Webb talks about. In the US, you've got the G-Mafia, and over in China, it's the Bat. These 9 giants have all the resources, all the talent, and all the data to build these incredibly powerful visions of the future. And those visions are driven by their own business interests.
And if you take away only one thing from this, let it be this. The futures they are building are simply plausible futures. They are not inevitable. They are just one set of possibilities inside that giant expanding cone we talked about.
And that's why all of this matters so much. Tools like backcasting aren't just for corporate bigwigs or government planners. They are for all of us. They give us the framework, they give us the language to start defining our own preferred futures. You know, ones that put our communities, our freedoms, and our ideals first.
Ultimately, the biggest takeaway here is that we are not just spectators watching a movie. We can be architects. By shifting our thinking from prediction to participation, we take back our agency. The future isn't some fixed destination we're all hurtling towards. It's an open space, a blank canvas that we can choose to build together. So, the only real question left is, what do we want it to look like?